On Tuesdays of my current training block, I do sweet spot, long sweet spot. On Wednesdays, I do an easy Zwift spin. On Fridays, I do breakaway style over-unders. And on Saturdays, I do an easy small ring spin because of Friday. Now on Sunday, sandwiched in between 30 miles of endurance, I do 40 miles of race pace with a group that's stronger than I am. Actually, I do race pace, I get dropped, and then I go chase a lot. Hey cycling community, this is Steve Grusis, the Cycling Greek, and this video is going to be about that Sunday workout.
Hey guys, get ready, but watch out for red light riders.
When the main organizer of this ride is here, Will, he takes off like a bat out of hell. During my 15-mile endurance ride to get over here, I did some pickups just so I can get ready for this. The main reason I get right on his wheel is so I don't have to go even faster chasing after him like all those guys are doing behind us that you can see in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. I'd probably never even make it. As you can see, I'm doing 330 to 400 plus just being on his wheel. And this brings me to the reasons why I do this ride, and there's two reasons. One, if I can hang on for as long as I can with these guys and get better each week, then I'm going to have a much easier time with the old guys. And the second reason is, I use this as a measuring stick to see how I'm doing, how I'm improving. That is not an exact science in this situation because it's all dependent on who shows up. While we have 2 or 3 in today's pack whom I would consider in the very fast category, there's a number of others in the very fast category who are racing this weekend who are obviously not here today, so that makes it a little bit easier for me. Back to the screen. Even though I did some pickups before I started this ride, this is killing me, and I was so thankful to see that there's a red light that we're going to stop for. This is going to give me just enough rest so I can hang on a little longer. A couple miles later, Will finally pulls off, and I pull off with him. There's no way I can go pull for pull with these guys right now. I take solace in my belief that with Will pulling off, the pack is going to be just a little bit slower. I'm going to be able to last a little bit longer. Jumping ahead a few miles, this was the scary part for me. Not in terms of crashing, but in terms of getting dropped. Here I'm doing 350 to 450 watts just to stay on the wheel, and Will goes toward the front. I'm thinking that we're going too slow for him, he's going to pull us, but actually what he does is pull out his camera, his iPhone, and takes a video of us. I was relieved. I'm sure a number of others were relieved too. Doing these rides weekly, I'm not going to see any big improvement from one week to the next. At least I haven't yet. It's the small improvements that I have to look for. And here's one of those examples, filling a gap. It's just filling a gap. But in putting a lot of watts to get up there and being able to hang with them after I fill the gap, that's an improvement. Another time, Jeff was in the front and he was doing a good pull, and I was starting to reach my limit. I was hoping he'd slow down because if he wasn't, I was going to have to pull off. Well, Jeff never slowed. I didn't want a red line, so I had to pull off. And when I pulled off, I was hoping that when everyone else went by, I'd recover enough where I could jump on their wheels and stay with the group. A couple went by, including Will, and then we encountered some slower riders. So as we passed them, I was expecting the others to come by, so I was keeping up my speed as best as I could so I can jump on their wheel. After a few more seconds, I determined that they weren't motivated to come on by, so I increased my speed, and fortunately, Will wasn't at the front. He was behind another rider, so that gave me a chance to close the gap. And I was able to close that gap and still stay with the group, and that's what I consider another improvement. Nothing that's big, things that usually riders are able to do, but in my case, this is definitely an improvement. It's now a couple miles later, and I'd love to say that I got to the turnaround point with the main group, but I can't say that. There was a point where it was getting real hard to hold the pace, and then I was slowly starting the red line. At that point, the gap in front of me opened up slowly. I had no idea who was behind me. The only thing I had left in my arsenal was hope. Hope that they would slow down in the front, hope that there was somebody behind me that when they went by, they didn't go by too fast, and hope when they did go by me, I could hang on their wheel. And lastly, that they can reconnect me with the pack and I can hang on. As you can see, none of those hopes were realized. While this was a long distance to chase, I chased. And thankfully to all the sweet spot I was doing, I got to see another small area of improvement. The ability to chase, and to sustain that chase all the way to the turnaround point. For the next 5 miles, I worked with this other rider and we caught up to Corey. You may remember Corey from one of my recent videos. He's the big triathlete. With now about 4 miles to go to the turnaround, the three of us started working together. Jumping ahead to right before the 1 mile hill of Will, Corey had been pounding out the watts. My original breakaway partner had reached his limit and had to back off. Corey and I continued on until a couple miles when, upon seeing Jeff a couple miles later, we really focused in order to catch him. Unfortunately, at the top of this small hill, Corey had reached his limit and had to back off. Of course, I didn't realize this was happening, and now being on a descent, and Corey being the big, strong guy that he is, I figured he was easily going to connect with me. With a couple K to go, we worked together and we rolled into the turnaround. After we waited for everyone to come in, we took off. From the turnaround point to the town of Friant was overall downhill, but there were plenty of stinger climbs and other risers that we could get dropped on, depending on how fast we were going at the time. I found myself at the front of this one, hopefully pulling strong enough so no one attacked. Fast forward to the top, ride leader Will did attack. Fortunately, everyone didn't go with him, but that didn't mean it wouldn't, because when we took that left turn, we have a little bit of respite, just a little, because we start to climb again. I don't have a lot of watts on my legs at the moment, but I'm still trying to do what I can to dissuade others from attacking. All of a sudden, Joe comes by, followed by Corey. I was able to recover enough to get my watts up there so I can slip in behind Corey. Now, Corey's the guy that anybody wants to be behind because that's a big wind block right there. As it turns out, I'm able to make it to the top of this climb with everyone else and actually able to make it into the town of Friant with everyone else. This is another small improvement. Even though it's mostly flat from the town of Friant back to the start, that in no way guarantees that I'm going to be connected with them at the finish. Flats and sustained fast guy speed, that's my weakness. While the overall speed while we were pacelining on the way back was nothing I couldn't handle, there were times where I had to miss pulls because the speed was getting a bit spicy. As you can see on this final hill leading into the finish, which is about 2 or 3 miles away, I got separated. Corey too. When our legs allowed, we went right into chase mode. There were a number of small positives on this ride for me. I have 2 more of these rides before my season starts, and then I'll have 4 to 5 weeks in a row of racing. My biggest challenge during that time is going to be how I'm going to do my training in between those races. I'll have a video on that coming up in the future. I hope you enjoyed this video and you got something out of it. As always, remember, comment, like, subscribe, because this channel needs it. The Cycling Greek.